A show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on GTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Romney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon, Nail Spa and Barbershop, Tisley Cross Deliciously Smooth Cider, and Digicel, simply more speed, reliability and entertainment.
Tisley Cross Cider. Tisley Cross Cider. Deliciously smooth.
This is The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition. Today we want to be speaking with a man who has been in the House, now out of the House, and has a very big take on what happens with the territory in terms of governance and otherwise. I want to welcome to the set Mr. Julian Willock. Your title is gone. There is no Honorable Willock, which I was able to call you for just a term and a half of the Virgin Islands Party administration. Things have welcome to the set.
Thank you very much, and you can call me Julian whether I had a title or not. Once one is secure within self and know who they are, title is just, something that is temporary.
And I hear you.
Yes,
and
yes,
I hear you. How the country running?
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me, and let the record show that it was on your invitation. I know some of the critics are claiming that I'm trying to be relevant still.
Oh no, and reach out to you
and interject myself into, But as I tell someone this morning at breakfast, that my company owns a new site. So if I need to get something out, I have means of doing that. So I don't have to do anything to try to be relevant. I mean, after all.
And the more the merrier. But yes, we thought it fit to invite you
but I'm humbled.
to here, yeah.
I'm humbled by your kind invitation. And your question was how the country is running.
How the country is running.
Well, I think the country has stabilized a bit. And when one is asked how the country is running, there are different areas of concern. Obviously, the coalition government headed by Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, they are caught up in the implementation of the Commission of Inquiry's report, and I trust that they don't. That will not be their only focus. That they also look at as the government now that there is some stuff happening in this country, issues of crime, issues of the cost of living, issues of gas prices, issues of inflation, issues of bringing your people along when major decisions are being made. So while I understand the complexity and the focus on the implementation of the COI, I will say to the weekly administration, please also keep your eyes on those other things that affects the day-to-day living of residents of the BVI.
Okay, as we would have heard from you at the time when it happened, would you have been happier to have been asked to continue as the Speaker of the House to be able to go this milestone with this national unity government?
Well, we have done a lot of work at the House of Assembly, and obviously everyone would have loved to continue the work and the mandate given by the members of the House. But nevertheless, I love my country. I'm not obsessed with power. The Premier asked me to resign. He laid out in confidence the reason why. Particularly, it will help his negotiation with the United Kingdom. So if it's to take one for the country, I'm always there. When it comes to my country, I'm willing to take one for my country.
Okay, in your assessment, how are things right now in terms of the national unity government? This is the first time I'm thinking this has happened for the territory where you have several parties in the governing seat. How is it working from the little bit you would have seen thus far?
Well, it's not the first time that there was a coalition government. I think way back in 1981 or 82, there has been a coalition government headed by the late Chief Minister Cyril B. Romney. And after that, there has never been another coalition government. Actually, after the 2019 election, it was the first time in the history of the BVI that there were 4 political parties in the House. And we never had so much political party. Usually, in the early 80s, 70s, it was usually the Vergence Party against a bunch of independent candidates and either maybe the United Party or the CCM. But after 1999, we have emerged with 2 strong political parties, the National Democratic Party and the Virgin Islands Party. So in the 2019 election, we've had 4 political parties. Unity government have their advantages and disadvantages. I suspect, as the Premier would have told me and told the public, that the unity government was an attempt to put a stay on the United Kingdom from suspending our constitution. So it was a matter of giving them a proposal, which apparently they've accepted, and now we have a unity government. I think all of us who love the BVI want to see the unity government works. All of us who love the BVI ought to be thinking about country and not ourselves. And obviously, you know, I was affected as a part of the fallout or the negotiation, along with, you know, 2 other of my colleagues who lost their ministerial post. But for the good of the country, I will say, let's see what happens, and let's all ensure that hands are on deck to build our country.
Okay, one of the things that you would definitely would have heard a lot of cries about when it comes to you in particular as the Speaker of the House is the matter that came up where it all ended in a stead where you were told by the court to pay some fees because of the legal issues that happened at that time. Yes, you would have set out, yes, this is the position that I was trying to take, this is the course of actions that caused me to do this, and this is the message that I was trying to get over, that no one is above the laws of the territory, and they should be, you know, should face whatever penalties that you know they cause upon themselves by taking certain action. That was what you were attempting to do, but you would have come under heavy criticisms for the manner in which persons thought that you took it that should not have been.
Well, I will say, in my 3.5 tenure as the Speaker of the 4th House of Assembly, first of all, I never do anything unless I was given the support of the majority of members. Whatever I did in my capacity as Speaker always had the buy-in of either the Minister of Finance, the majority of members, and communication with members on both sides. And let me just give you a short, again, background for the public again, for the public consumption in terms of the issue of the injunction and the fees. You will recall that in 2021, the former governor, Mr. Jahphix, commissioned a inquiry into governance and corruption in the territory. The executive branch, you know, there are 3 branches of government. The executive branch lawyered up in terms of protecting their members. We, at the House of Assembly, through a vote, made a decision to hire legal representation for backbenchers, for former members who will need it, and also for executive branch members, ministers in their representative capacity. So for example, let's take for example the former Minister of Natural Resources and Labor. He had representation through the executive branch, but also you would have seen that he had made appearances with the House of Assembly lawyer, Silk Legal. So once that was agreed on by all members, it wasn't the Speaker doing this on his own. The other thing that came forward was, it was found out by all lawyers, Silk Legal, that there were 3 Commission of Inquiries attorneys practicing law in the territory without being called to the bar. And this was also confirmed by the Honorable Attorney General. In fact, she went a step further and placed it in writing to a senior member of the BVI Bar Association that they violate the law, that they should be called to the bar. However, she said that she would not object to their application. On that, we went back to the House of Assembly, where a vote was taken to authorize the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Neville Smith, and myself as then Speaker, to file an objection to the application. We did that. The judge, it was Judge Vicky Ann Ellis, set a date for a objection hearing to the application in October of last year. In August, the Commission of Inquiry went on vacation. In September, there was a public notice that they will be back to continue the Commission of Inquiry. At no time did we attempt to stop the Commission of Inquiry. In fact, we have said, and we've echoed what the executive branch have said, that the House of Assembly members were willing to cooperate with a transparent, free and fair Commission of Inquiry. And that's what we did. And sometimes, although despite my objection, when we have sitting, members will have to not attend the sitting and go and appear before the Commission of Inquiry. So the members of the House of Assembly fully cooperated with the Commission of Inquiry. So once we were told that the lawyers are coming back in September, after consultation, we filed what is called an injunction. The injunction was simply to say there's a case pending, an application case pending for the 3 lawyers. Why don't you wait until October? This is the 3 lawyers now. Why don't they wait until October before they return to work in the BVI, which the Attorney General had already said was illegal. Now this again wasn't an attempt to stop. The Hickenbacker could have get new people through the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, of which he was working through, to come in and continue the Commission of Inquiry. So that's why the injunction was filed. Now, an injunction is an emergency relief. And I will say in terms of issues of communication, the former Premier and Minister of Finance was fully aware of the injunction. Actually, in a letter that I got a couple months ago, Silk Legal are now saying to us that they were also told by the Premier, former Premier, on more than one occasion, to file the injunction. And also, at one point, the Premier did call me about filing the injunction, and I said to him, Premier, let us ensure that we have a separation of power. Your role in this will be through your capacity as the Minister of Finance to fund it. And I did write him about funding.
I was just about to ask you if any of this
Yes.
that you were talking about was all documented.
Yes, everything I'm saying here, I can produce letters for you for documented. So once I told the former Premier that, actually he got the Deputy Speaker now to start communicating with me. Because again, I have been in my tenure advocate that the 3 branches of government must be respected, especially the legislature. And that's one of the things that I was mandated to do by members, was to strengthen and build the institution of the legislature.
Okay.
So once that was done, and he started sending instructions to me through the Deputy Speaker. So actually time was running out. It was on a Saturday. So through Silk Legal, the injunction was filed. And the injunction simply was to say, don't come back to work, 3 COI lawyers, until the application hearing in October. Now, because the court was on vacation, the injunction application was seen by a judge, a British judge. And people will tell me he's friends with whoever, Hickenbacker and whoever, and I think that's irrelevant. But in his major judgment, he asked us whether or not we've sought and have permission from the Attorney General. Now this is after it has been filed. Now all along, from time we're meeting and voting and setting up our legal strategy, the Attorney General has been in the loop with all that. I know she missed one of the original meetings, but every time something was done, I documented. I placed it in writing, whether hard copy or email, to all the members. Okay? And now the injunction is filed. Suddenly he's saying, we needed permission from the Attorney General. So we wrote the Attorney General. She was non-responsive. So then Silk Legal advised us then to withdraw the injunction.
Okay.
Hence then he said, well,
you got to pay the fees.
I have to pay the fee out of my pocket. When all the filing, all the paperwork going through was through in my official capacity as Speaker of the House.
Okay, so the court has ordered that you pay.
Yeah.
The next move that we saw was the then Premier taking a motion to the House for it to be paid through your office. We saw where it was heavily debated, then a decision changed to decided for a committee to be put together to deliberate on 3 points, which would determine whether or not you be the one to pay out of pocket. That committee came back and said, you should pay. Where are you with that? Where are you with that right now?
I will say to members to search their conscience. That's what.
But they've already made a decision.
Yeah, but I will say,
where are you?
I know they've made a decision, but I still say to them to search their conscience, because every member in that House of Assembly knew that I could not have proceeded in filing an injunction without giving the authorization to do so. I wasn't acting like no minister. I was following instruction, and it's clear. While 100% of members may not have known about the injunction before it was filed on a Saturday actually, and the Monday I wrote all 14 members to alert them about the injunction. Kathy, there was not one objection, not one. All along in our legal strategy, we had unanimous vote on everything. The only time when we had a dissension, the only time when we lost 2 votes, was I remember when all the injunction matter came out and the Willock was out of pocket. It was agreed in an informal meeting that we provide some support, some legal support to Silk Legal, where we hired a local QC. Because obviously Silk Legal would have gotten in some conflict because they were the one who asked who did the filing on the Speaker's behalf. So you could not now ask them again to go and, So we hired a local QC, and when we had a vote on that, there was 2 members that dissented on that vote. But all along and everything else, there was always support. So I have not done, and members know, irregardless of the decision in the recommendation in the report, members know that I was never acting alone. They know that. So
while they have to, like you say, deal with their conscience, what do you do now? Because that's a heavy fee.
Well, the matter is in the courts, and I will prefer not to.
Oh, so it's okay. So
yeah, they have made a recommendation. The committee that claiming that I went to wrong the Attorney General, which is and I know and the public knows it's not accurate.
So are we to understand that the decision by the court is now being appealed by you?
I will say that the matter is in court as to the ruling of Justice Jack.
Okay.
And I will leave it there.
So you've contested the decision?
I didn't say that. I said the matter is in. The matter.
You need to be straight with us. This is something that is.
But I'm just saying the matter is there.
Is it an appeal?
The judge made a ruling that I pay out of pocket, which everyone knows is unfair and unjust. Members in the House of Assembly knows that. The public knows that. And let's go back to the reasoning, Kathy. Let's go back to the reasoning. Here you have 3 lawyers working in the BVI, violating the law.
If I may interrupt you, because we're spending a lot of the time, and there are just a couple of other things, and rather than us go back on that, we've gathered that it's still a court matter, and we would have been ventilating this issue back and forth before. So let the court try it,
but no, I just wanted to mention the bigger picture here. The bigger picture here is, as we talk about self-determination and independence, we all as a people, as members of the House of Assembly also, must be committed to the rule of law, meaning that there's one law in the BVI for all of us. I get calls from mothers, Kathy, almost weekly, about their sons at Her Majesty's prison on remand for years, months, weeks, without a trial. They're up there because they have committed some crime or some offense. There is nobody to give them a pass. There's no one to say, let's not object to him going to prison. No, we have to have a judicial system that's fair to all, especially if we're talking about self-determination, especially if we want credibility in our own financial services jurisdiction. The legal system in our jurisdiction must be credible, and it must apply to everyone, whether you're Julian Willock, or you're Julian Gordon, or you're Kathy Richards, or you're Natalia Weekly. The rule of law must apply to everyone, and that's what I've spent my life fighting for.
Okay, and
justice.
Thank you for that aspect. But let's move on to some other things as well. As you talk about those things, move on to self-determination and that. We would have heard so many cries out there when the negotiations were going on that the unity government needed to come to the people with their proposal that they were going to put to the United Kingdom prior to sending it out. What's your take on that? Do you think that the government has operated in the best interest of the territory in an inclusive way, as you are saying that governance matters?
Well, I will say to the Premier, who's my friend, despite what is being said now, I will say that he needs to do two things. He needs to bring the people along, and to bring the people along, you need to share information. And two, managing a coalition government is not easy. I have a good friend in St. Kitts, and in my consultant days, I worked with them on the unity government in St. Kitts, and you would see what happened there. It's not easy managing a unity government. So you have to make sure that not only you bring your cabinet along, your caucus along, but the people of the BVI must be brought along. Now there are certain things that you may not have the time to share because things are moving ever so rapidly. There's a lot of moving parts. But it's important to bring your people along.
Are they bringing the people along, in your opinion? About 6 weeks into it.
A recent attempt has been made to bring people along, but they need to keep that up.
The other thing that we were hearing is that rather than a unity government, let's go to the polls. What are you hearing and understanding?
I've heard that too. I think the country's split on that also. There's 50% of the people who will come to me and say that the House of Assembly needs to be dissolved. We need a fresh start. We need fresh people to negotiate with the British. And then there's another 50% who will say, hey, we have to give the unity government credit. They were able to put a stay on them, on the United Kingdom suspending our constitution. It's only 8-9 months. Leave them, at least let them stabilize the country, do something. So the public is split. I don't know yet if I've taken a position. My instinct is to give people a chance to work, and if indeed the constitution will not be suspended, I will think that will be a feather in the cap of the Honourable Premier. But again, on the flip side of that, there are people who are saying to me daily that yes, the constitution is not suspended, but the governors still have all the power. So it's one of those things. But my instinct will be, give them a chance.
You used the term earlier that the new site, this is a part of one of your companies, have been sharing that opinion that the governor is actually over the government at the moment. Apart from your news site saying that, do you believe that?
Well, first of all, I cannot speak to the VNO editorial board. The public will have known now for years.
But you would have read the article, I'm sure, at least.
Well, let's just put a disclaimer there. The public would have known now for years that I do not interfere what VNO write, what blog they post, what story they do, and that
allegation is not on you. On this
I'm just saying.
I'm just asking
I just want to continue to let people know that has not changed, because now that I've left the house, everybody's asking me when I'm coming back to VNO. I have not gone back yet. I can't speak for what VNO opinion is. I said I have not formulated.
I'm asking if you share that opinion that's on the news site.
I have not formulated an opinion as yet. My instinct will be to let's give the unity government a chance to see if it works. That will be my opinion. And
as we wrap up, because you utilize a lot of the time going back on sharing you some clarification to the court matter. Have you heard from the former premier since this whole
Not directly.
issue?
Not directly.
Indirectly, and what's the
Well,
conversation?
I've sent messages to him indirectly. The fact of the matter is, I tell people this every day. When the Honorable Andrew Foy left the territory to go to sea trade in April, he was the premier of this country. What happened to him on April 28, 2022 is unfortunate, and I have not found anyone who have been kind to the allegations against the premier. Because if those allegations, according to the US government, are accurate, then there's a lot left to be desired. But what I will say to the public, in our democracy, in our rule of law, in our system, a person is innocent until proven guilty. So I will say we have not heard the side from the former premier. We have not heard his lawyer's presentation. So I will say, let's not crucify him yet. Let's wait till the legal matter is exhausted, and then we can make a judgment. But if the allegations that we have read accurate, obviously it's concerning for all of us. But at the same time, that must be balanced with not rendering guilty already. And we must treat our people fairly. When he left here, he was the premier of this country. And yes, yes, the allegation has caught all of us by surprise. The allegation have embarrassed all of us. None of us take too kindly with the allegation. But he's a human being. He's a Virgin Islander. We set up in the House of Assembly some protocol on how current members are treated, on how former members are treated, and those must be considered.
Okay, and which brings us to the point of the Constitution, where he's still constitutionally the representative, the elected representative for District 1. I think, if my memory serves me right, the only way that that power is removed from him is if he fails to attend a certain amount.
Yeah. Under the standing orders, Mr. Foy will have to vacate his seat if he misses 3 consecutive sittings. However, if he advised the Speaker, and I think his standing order, I can't remember the version of standing order, but if he advised the Speaker that he is not in a position to make a meeting, then that cancels out his having to vacate his seat. And then there was the other issue of whether or not he can participate virtually. Virtually, yeah. In standing order 2A, which gives way for the House of Assembly in general to meet virtually. And it was my measured view that also covers members. Now, I am not...
But it says generally,
Yeah.
but in this case, we're talking about just one individual.
I just want to make clear that I am just simply providing my measured view and my interpretation as a former Speaker on the standing orders. I am not determining whether or not he should participate virtually. That's a matter for the Speaker, the Madam Speaker. That's a matter for members. But in my measured view, he can participate virtually because we've had, and when you're in committee, the rules of the committee and the rules of a regular sitting is the same. We've had witnesses participate virtually. We've had a witness who was on vacation or went home in Africa. She participated virtually.
But witness and being a legislator, major difference.
No, unless the Speaker and members object, any member can participate virtually. Any member. And that's why Standing Order 2A was amended. It meant that the House itself, and the House is made up of members. The House is not some building sitting someplace. The House is the members. So if you're saying the House, you're speaking about the members. So it's clear he can participate, he or any other member can participate virtually. But again, if there is objection, members can bring a motion to say, we want all the members physically here.
Which way you would love to see it go?
I don't have an opinion. That's a matter, I try my best not to inject myself into a thing that doesn't concern me.
Matter of country, it should concern
There is a new Speaker, there's a new Premier, there's a unity government, and that's a matter for them.
In summary now, and in closing off now, I want to ask you this. Do you see this government going back into power when we go to the polls, whenever it is? Do you see all those members going back?
It's too early to even talk about who is going back into power. It is really too early. If they continue until next year, when election is due, we'll have to see whether they're able to bring people along, whether the unity government is really united, and whether people have bought into the things that they're trying to do. What I've said to them, and what I will say to them again now, is that you have to also, outside of the COI, you ought to pay attention to the daily struggles of men and women every day. The high gas prices, the high duties on import. People in this country are struggling, Kat.
Yes, and now
they're
we
struggling to
understand
survive.
every person is feeling it.
Yes,
And like
yes,
I
they're
said,
struggling.
yeah, that was the last point. I said it was over, but quickly tell me this. Do you find it realistic for the 45 recommendations of the COI to be implemented within the 2 years that was given? And let's close on that.
Well, the time frame that was imposed on the government, I think it's a little too much. But quite interestingly, the Premier have said that the time frame was negotiated between him and the governor. So perhaps we have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he and his administration and the other players in it can achieve those goals. What I would have wanted to see also is some more broad-based discussion on the 45, 46, 47, 48 recommendations, because I think there was a lack of willingness for the government to sit down and explain some of the issues, explain our unique culture, and also the report seemed to only blame the political class, where some was given a pass, some with portfolio, nothing, they don't have any responsibility for nothing. So there could have been some pushback and negotiation. But where we are, and as I said, for my country's sake, I wish the unity government well. I am not one to be obsessed with power. I love my country. The Premier told me at 9 o'clock one morning to resign. At 11 o'clock I announced my resignation. So
Okay.
I am not obsessed with power.
I know there was
I'm
so
a
much,
humble guy.
Yeah, I know that there's so much more that you would have loved to have the opportunity to say, but I'm beyond the time that we are allotted here for the big story. So I trust that there is some other time that we could come and continue a discussion as things progresses within the territory. You're always a candid voice. I've known you to be.
I will just say, going forward, you'll have to start talking to my agent for interviews, because too many news sites, both locally, regionally.
Oh man, you are so important. Oh man, you are so
too many people are calling me all over the world for interviews, and I've had to go and get an agent.
Just let me know your agent when you get one. I shoot it. So Willock, I want to thank you so much for sparing us this time. I know, yes, I said there's so much more that you wanted to say and could have said, but given the time, and I want to thank you so much for giving us an ear here on The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards.